The latest Avenger movie has now hit astronomical records for revenue and attendance in just its first month. Did you know that YouTube is the second largest search engine? To me, that demonstrates the power of video. Are you using video in your business? Authenticity of video can, in some cases, beat out the high level of performance of movies at the theater and commercials on television. It's easier than ever to work with video. I'm Paul Menig, CEO of Business Accelerants. Brighton West is with me today to talk about online video. He's a virtual videographer with experience in bringing video stories to life on your favorite screen, large or mostly small these days. Welcome, Brighton.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you, and we're going to have a little special thing here where I was the guinea pig and we did a before and an after. Even though I've done some video and had some experience doing it and got some training, Brighton helped me with a video testimonial, which I showed my wife last night, and her immediate response was that what Brighton had done looked much more comfortable, authentic, and real compared to what I had done. So, stay tuned. You're going to get some really good insight into how to do this well. I sometimes work with virtual and augmented reality, especially for specialized training with trucking and automotive and even surgery types of things. I called you a virtual videographer a moment ago, but I must admit I've never heard that particular term before. What does it mean?
Yeah, so actually virtual videographer is a little different than virtual reality or augmented reality. I have a feeling those are a little more fun. But what I mean by virtual videographer is very similar to, you might have a virtual assistant. So it's someone who's working remotely and helping you out, and in my case, with videography. So I do everything with my clients via their webcam or their cell phone. So everyone's got the really great technology in their hands already. I'm just the person who's providing that direction. Like you mentioned with your video, really kind of giving you the feedback and the direction, the help that a videographer would provide. It's just that I can do that from anywhere in the world.
Actually, that was a term I used the word director just there. As I was explaining to my wife what you had done with me, it was as if I was an actor and you were providing direction and trying to get me to emote, asking me to repeat things, come out with the right things. I've never been an actor. I've done a lot of interviews and different things, but I found that very interesting, and she caught it immediately with the way it came across.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's so true. People like yourself, you're comfortable on video, so you're comfortable and you know how the technology works and whatnot. But still, a lot of people don't even have that. So that's usually where I'm starting with people is okay, let's get your camera steady. Let's get it at the right eye level, stuff like that. But yeah, just people, we do a lot better when there's someone else there with us who's watching. Because we sometimes, I've had people brush their face and stuff in the middle of the video. They didn't know they did that, but that's why I'm there. So I'm watching for all those little things, trying to, and piecing it together in my head as we go.
So you have a good eye. You started in video 20 years ago now, but you studied landscape architecture. This is a great time of year here in Portland. The rhododendron gardens should be in beautiful bloom right now, so we get all this beauty and stuff. How do you transition from landscape architecture to videography?
Yeah, so you start out as a landscape architect who designs parking lots for 6 months. Oh. And then you realize that 4.5 years of school was not what you quite thought. So I went from that, and I needed a creative outlet, and I was in Atlanta at the time. Most of my friends worked for CNN, and they all, as a hobby, made videos. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, this is what my friends do. I guess I'll learn how to do this too. So we made lots and lots of videos and documentaries and, little narrative videos and lots of parodies and funny stuff. And we'd have parties and show everybody these videos, and everyone just loved it. When I got here to Portland, I started making web series, and I got to be pretty good at it. And people started asking me so how do you do this whole YouTube thing? How do you get people to actually watch your videos on YouTube? And that's when I realized there might be a business here. So I kind of said, okay, well, how am I going to make this work? And I was able to turn it into a business of helping people use YouTube. That was kind of the beginning of it. And now I still help people with YouTube, but there's a couple other videos too.
So that makes me think, people measure YouTube by how many views they've had. Do you have some magic number that you've been able to reach that you know of?
I think one of my most popular, well, the first video from my web series went over 200,000. So that was pretty good for a small regional
We're talking
web series.
15, 20 years ago possibly too.
No, this was 7 years ago. So my web
okay.
series was based on Portlandia.
Okay.
So it was
Okay.
it was when Portlandia was entering its second season is when I was entering my first season. It was a lot of fun. Fred and Carrie were in it. The mayor was in it. It was a really great time. And I think everything. It was just the perfect storm. Really, more than anything, is why it was so successful. But most of that, 100 plus thousand views of that was probably within the first couple days. That's the beauty of YouTube. It just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. It just, it doesn't go away like Facebook. You post something on Facebook, by tomorrow, no one's really seeing it anymore. But with YouTube, it's there forever. I've got a video, I've got quite a number of channels, but one of my videos is how to fix broken, like when a door is stuck. How to open it when the, my sister-in-law's, the handle fell off her door and she couldn't get it open. So I posted that. It's probably got 150, 180,000 views. So,
Wow.
yeah. So in terms of success, though, it really depends. I mean, great to get that many views, but really, if you get a small number of views, even if you get a couple hundred views from a targeted audience, that'd be better than getting 1 million views from a not targeted audience.
I think I might be like a lot of other people who just want to make sure that there's somebody else viewing it besides themselves. So those 10 views they got were just themselves looking at it.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Yeah, that sometimes happens.
You made this to this virtual world. So going from in-person filmmaking to taking advantage of doing it remotely with online video programs. So you and I used Skype. You began focusing on testimonials rather than the general anything that you could be working on.
Right.
That to me seems like going from, you started parking lots, you said. That wasn't a creative enough outlet, so you went to making films, the more artistic end of things, and then you focus on this little narrow niche, which I would almost think about as the photographer who likes a good revenue stream and he's doing grade school pictures of class pictures for parents whom he know will buy them. There must be an interesting story also to the switch from, we got the parking lot to the artistic. Now how do you go from the artistic in your own series to this particular focus, which many people as business coaches would say is a good idea, to focus on one thing?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things there. One is, quite frankly, it is the thing that pays the bills. So, but what I found was that I started working with coaches. I work, 90% of my clients are coaches. And so what I'm doing is I'm helping them get their message out to the world. And so it really changed from the fun of creativity to the fun of the clients that I'm working with. It's very inspirational to work with coaches and their clients, because every time I get on a video, it's someone who's got a really amazing story of how their life has changed. And it's the power of coaching. I looked at a couple other professions that video works well for, but quite frankly, the clients weren't as exciting to work with. I looked at real estate and it was like, oh, you bought a house. Okay. And then the next person bought a house. The next person bought a house. But with coaches, it's just like the things that people achieve and the barriers that they were facing and what they were able to get over. And that whole process is very exciting for me to capture.
Okay.
So that's kind of the exciting part for me now. It's less about creativity and more about interactivity with people.
Okay. So I didn't put it down ahead of time, but as we went through it, you talked about the hero story.
Yes.
And what I just heard it in what you were just saying there. There were these people who had problems, they did something, they succeeded, and that's, the hero story is in commercials that we see on TV. I mentioned the Avengers. That is a huge hero story, right?
Yep, exactly.
I don't know who Yoda is, and that's Star Wars. I know, but I haven't seen the Avengers to know who's the equivalent wise person in there. So
guide. Yeah.
I see that as what you're talking about with being able to work with the coaches and what they've accomplished.
Right, exactly. So with the testimonials, that's what I have people do, and we'll get here. Pretty soon we'll see your testimonial before and after Brighton. But yeah, getting people to tell that story it's very powerful, and it's powerful. Storytelling is inherent in us. We like to tell stories. We like to hear stories. It's much easier than going through like an interview format or something like that. People are much more comfortable talking about their story, and yeah, it's very effective compared to some other ways that I've seen people try to coax testimonials out of people.
So technology, though. You use Skype, I said.
Yep.
A lot of people, a lot of coaches are using Zoom right now. It was free for a long time, but now they're ratcheting up the price. I have something called freeconferencecall.com. In fact, I did a video conference call with somebody from the car here just before coming in, because it is free to me. The companies themselves are paying for it, for the connections. You mentioned you did FaceTime yesterday for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I did FaceTime yesterday for Mother's Day with my grandson, so my wife, Baba, could enjoy that. What advantages and disadvantages do you see among all these different options that we have with GoToMeeting and all of them?
We're lucky to be alive in such a time when all of this is out there and free or cheap. I mean, Zoom, even though they're making you pay, it's something like $5 a month now or something, or $10 a month. These are very common prices for things. So I have a Zoom account, a professional Zoom account, and I use it usually for meetings with people. I use it for webinars too. And it's a very friendly, user-friendly platform. Skype is maybe not quite as user-friendly because you have to log in, you have to remember your password and things like that versus just joining someone. But it just has a better video recorder. So it's got a very powerful video recorder that someone else built that it sits on top of Skype. So I'm able to do much better video recording with Skype. But each one of these kind of has its the pros and cons. So I mean, I didn't even know that Free Conference Call had video. I do just this morning. I had my Monday morning Free Conference Call with a couple of friends who are my accountability buddies. But yeah, there's so many things out there, and just finding the right one for you, I guess, is the key. But right now, it seems like Zoom is right for just about everyone. If you just want to meet with people, you want to make that connection face to face, Zoom seems to be the easy one that everyone knows, that everyone's comfortable with.
So my wife will want to know this. So I haven't found a way to do video recording with FaceTime on an iPhone.
You can record your screen.
So I can take a picture, but I can't take a video of the FaceTime.
You can take a video of your screen. So there's a video recording function if you've got a relatively new iPhone.
Yeah.
So I will make sure.
It's a separate app that runs in the background?
It's built in to your iPhone. You just need to know which button to push. So
right.
I'm actually going to put that up on the screen here. It's this button here.
Great.
You might have to turn it on your control panel screen.
Oh, that'll be great, because when we go up for a weekend, I'll come back with 100 videos of our grandson. But when we're doing FaceTime and he's doing something, I haven't been able to record.
Right.
And so that would be great.
Yeah, exactly.
So thanks very much. I appreciate that.
FaceTime is great for that one-on-one connection too. It's simple.
So my daughter took a bunch of pictures over the weekend with her hand-me-down from me 5S. I mean, that's really old camera for an iPhone. I've got an iPhone 10 in my pocket somewhere, and you have a iPhone X something that we're using here, which has a superior camera system. And there are many other smartphones and cameras out there. If you're going to use a phone, what do you recommend?
I recommend, here we go, I'm going to pull it out of my pocket. I recommend this phone right here, the one that's in your pocket. So this is the beauty. It's, all of these phones. This is a 6. So
Samsung, Android,
they all,
Galaxy, it doesn't
anything
matter,
that's,
right?
within
Whatever's
the last,
handy.
4 years or 5 years or something is going to have an amazing camera inside. So much better than even the point and shoot cameras from a few years ago. The only thing that these don't do well is zoom. Like, so if you want something from far away, that's great. You're using, we're on a couple of cameras here. So you're using one
Canon camcorder right now because it's convenient and easy for me. You've got the iPhone. I have a Canon DSLR that I can use at home for. It's just a little clumsy to bring portable.
Right, exactly. Well, once again, each one does kind of something slightly different, but really for video, for me, just the starting doing it is usually the hardest part. So do it with what you have.
Okay.
And what you have for most people is an amazing camera already in their pocket.
And maybe that gets back to that early comment about authenticity, overcoming the beauty, because kids everywhere have been posting to YouTube and WhatsApp and all kinds of different
Selfies
things
and,
of stuff, and it's engaging to people regardless of whether it's a high level quality you'd expect out of Paramount. I don't even know if Paramount lives anymore. It's a company separately at this point. Disney does.
Yes, Disney does. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just to kind of play with that a little bit. Yeah, I'm all about authentic video. I think that's what people want today. It is not. I mean, clearly you're not going to go and pay $15 to go to the AMC theater to watch someone's handheld video shot on their iPhone. But if you go to someone's website and you want to know who they are, I would guess that you would prefer an authentic video shot on an iPhone to a really snazzy video shot in a video studio, because you're looking to see who they are. You're not looking to see who they want to be or how they, what they look like in their makeup. You're looking for who they really are, because with coaches, you're trying to decide who to work with, if you want to work with this person. And if it's too polished, that, you're not really seeing that. You're not really seeing who they are. Same thing with testimonials. If a testimonial looks too slick, it's like, oh, did you hire actors to do this? Versus having it be, on a webcam. And it's real, your real customers, not kind of these made up people. So the other one is YouTube videos. That's the third type of video that I typically work on. And once again, people are looking for content on YouTube more than they are looking for polish. So you can have just an amazing, beautiful, polished video, but if you don't get to the point quick enough, people are clicking away to go to the guy who shot it in his basement but got to the point quicker.
I have to come in. I hear content is king. Content.
Yep.
Okay, cat videos are not content to me. What do you mean by content?
So interestingly, I think cat videos are content. So content does one of three things, and this is, I think, for videos, for just anything across the board. So people are going to the internet, going to YouTube, to be entertained, cat videos, to be educated, how-to videos, or
how to unstick your door.
Yep, exactly. Or to be inspired. So content is one of those three things. So you have to hit one of those things. What people typically aren't looking for is informative. They don't want to just kind of learn about something that they weren't already, it wasn't a pain point. They were like, oh yeah, I want to know more about how to do X, Y, or Z. Those are the things that are good
Wait
content.
a minute. All those business coaches that you're working with are all trying to develop video training courses that you can buy for $97, $297, or $497 on sale right now.
Right.
Those are information, though.
I put that in education. People want to be educated. They don't want to, quite frankly, they don't want to hear you just talking about yourself. No one's going on YouTube to be like, let's see here, what's Paul, what's Paul's business about, or something like that. Just kind of like that dry, things that are important to you, that might be important to a few people, but people are searching for those three things.
Okay, so is is the daily news program and Good Morning Today and all the morning shows that go till noon and beyond, are those educational or informational or entertainment or inspiration?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Like his people do watch those.
Apparently.
A lot. And I don't know where those, that's the first question.
For me, they're drivel.
Yeah, they are. But, part of it is they're using some techniques. We've already used a technique here, and I'm not sure.
Teaser.
The teaser, exactly. Yes. So the teaser is gold, also called the open loop. Hopefully, if you know what we're talking about right now, put down in the comments what we've already teased. So hopefully you caught that. So, but yeah, so they're using some techniques, I think, to get people, but that might just be information. Okay. But I think also it's part of just like people just turning on the TV and just zoning out.
Yeah, audio I've found is important. I learned is important. So
yep.
I might, if I were outside and it was very windy, I'd want to have a microphone that is very pointed, be able to do things when we want to hear the football players or the basketball players groaning as they try to make a hit. We want a very specialized type of microphone. We're using lapel mics with a separate recording system rather than what's available off of the microphones of those devices. What do you think is best? Certainly what's in your pocket, right?
Yes, exactly. Start with, the microphones on these things are pretty damn good. Like if you're using the front camera, it's like picking up more sound from the front. If you use the back camera, it's like directionally pointed towards the back. So pretty good, but for just $15, you can go out and pick up a lavalier microphone. I thought I had one around here, but it looks just like this, and it plugs into your phone. Mm-hmm. You could also spend more money on lavalier microphones, but what I found is the $15 one works just fine. It sounds pretty good. I can't tell a difference to my ear. But the goal there is that, as you can see here with a lavalier microphone, your mouth is so much closer to the microphone versus all the other noise that's going on. And you mentioned the being outside, so this has the little foam ball on it, which helps with a little bit of very light wind. So wind going across a microphone sounds awful. And they have something called a dead cat. I don't know if you've heard this term, but it's a little poofy ball.
Oh, yes. I didn't know that had that name.
Yes, exactly. That's a movie industry standard term because theirs are bigger. Okay. But you can get them for lavalier microphones. But they look like just a poofy cat sitting on your chest. But it stops the wind and makes it so you can hear. Because, if you get the sound wrong, people won't watch. Bad sound, that's bad.
Okay, so as we get into the ability to look at before and after, a couple of things that I've seen. One time I went to get some training on how to come into the country with a new system that the customs had put up. And I was impressed with our government, which is difficult for me to be done, because they first sat me down and they talked me through it. Mm-hmm. Then they showed me a video of it. Then they made me do it.
Yep.
So I coined the term hear, see, do. Yes. And that was a really great thing for helping me to understand, because every type of person learns differently.
Right.
We've got people who learn by hearing, reading, seeing, and video, seems to be a very popular way for people to be able to do things. The other thing I recently heard was with surgeons. You watch one, you do one, you teach one. And that is how you learn to be a surgeon. Now, as we get to where they're using robotic surgery and doing things, they were complaining about with AI and virtual reality, augmented reality, it's changing how people are learning, and they're not necessarily getting the do part that we did as the surgeon or for me with the customs agency. So what I liked about what you did to my original video is you showed the words at the same time that I was speaking. So watch for that. Because that is a positive reinforcement to people. They're not just seeing it, but they're getting a second way of learning in the process and helping to identify the key points, right?
Yes, exactly. And with video, the pathways between our eyes and our brain are just, they're huge. So we we can consume so much information through our eyes. So as long as you're talking and there's more stuff on the screen, you can have different messages. We can consume so much. So let's use the screen, put the words up there, reinforce the points.
Well, that brings to mind, I know there have been experiments where people put words that you can't see inside a video, and people do remember what they didn't obviously see as a result. So it's very powerful.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is a very powerful tool.
Okay, so we're going to now show a video of about a minute or so, as I recall,
Yep.
of something that I recorded for my business coach, Dan Whedon. And I used my setup in my den. I used my iMac, which was not ideal because I had to look up at the camera there. And I was reading a script that I had done. I put the script as close to the camera as possible, but you could still see my eyes were off. When I do some other videos, I have a device that allows me to look directly into the camera at home when I'm doing reading of something. Then I'll let Brighton explain what he's doing. So first, here is the original video testimonial that I did with a script, recording it at home. I'm Paul Menig, the CEO of Business Accelerants. Just as you have a primary care physician, a PCP, for your personal health, you need a PBP, a primary business professional, for your business health. Dan Whedon is my coach. I've been relying on Dan to provide insight, recommendations, and challenging questions that make me stop and think. Sometimes I just need him to be a silent sounding board, allowing me to work through something myself by talking about it. Dan is quick to respond via email to any questions that I have. I really appreciate his weekly letter, Extra Points. He has a great writing style that captures your attention with a good story and then applies it to your business in a concrete manner. If you want to reduce the risk in your business and life, get Dan in your corner and let him unleash you. Okay, so before we look at what you did and talk about what you did, what did you see in my video that...
Well, this is interesting. We go back to content. The content was right. The story was right. It was told as a story. It was there. It was great points, but it felt like we could see that you were reading. We could see that you were kind of moving up and down between reading the script, and the cadence was of a reading type cadence. So it didn't feel like you were just talking to the audience. And really, when we consume things, almost all video is consumed on these, or maybe even just on your computer, people are alone. So think about that, is that you're typically talking to the one person on the other side of the camera, so that authenticity is very important. So I think that was the key there, was even when I interviewed you, I pulled some key points out of that video they just saw. So you'll see some of those show up again. Yeah, it's a great video technically. Your eye line, as you mentioned, you were looking up a little too high. It's better to be looking up a little too high than be looking too low. But yeah, so when we got together, we did some changes, and so let's see. Yeah, some of the changes you changed. You watched. I had sent you a little preview video of like how to get ready, and so you changed the video angle. So we've got a little bit better video angle, and really, I interviewed you and I helped you tell the story. And I think people will be able to see that you are just talking. You're talking as if you're having a conversation with the viewer. Yeah. It's not memorized, and it's not being read. So I think that's what really does it, is it's the authentic connection.
Yeah. So the setup, what I changed was, instead of using the iMac, I brought my MacBook Pro and put it down in front of the iMac for two reasons. One, it put the camera right at my eyesight, and secondly, the iMac became a backlight or a front light for my face, which was very difficult to achieve in this particular setup. We used the microphone on the iMac, on the MacBook Pro, and we used a video connection. We used Skype for Business as our Skype.
Just Skype, yep.
For that particular thing. So here you are. Here's the improved version Dan always asked me tough questions that I didn't think of for myself that forced me to stop and reconsider what I should be doing. I began consulting as a solo consultant at the end of 2011 when I left the corporate world. Trained as an engineer and as an engineering manager, I worked with all parts of the business, frequently was out in the field talking with salespeople, meeting with customers. Yet I had never been in the position of having to actually close the sale nor set up those meetings. The salespeople did that. I first met Dan through the Alan Weiss organization of consultants and hired Dan actually to be a business coach for me. That provides me the opportunity to talk with him on the phone, to occasionally meet with him, and he responds quickly to any emails and requests that I have. With Dan's help over the last 2 years, I've had the best 2 years of my career as a consultant. With the highest amount of revenue, the largest number of clients. He's been particularly helpful in helping me move from being an expert in the trucking industry into being a more generalized business coach. So as I said, Brighton adding in the key points of words and highlighting them in different ways, even the little way where I talked about working in one industry, he kind of generalized that rather than using the specific words so that it was more applicable, I'd say, to many more coaches who might be thinking about using this type of thing. What other comments would you have about the improved version?
Yeah, I mean, just generally, your first version was straight through. I'm not sure how many times it took you. Most people, it takes a lot of times to record straight through without making a mistake. And actually, I remember you made a tiny little mistake at the end, but yeah, to start over from scratch.
My wife picked it up last night when I showed
Yes,
it to her.
Exactly.
I stumbled on a word.
So with the stumbles, if you stumbled with me, I just had you shoot it again. Yes. Because it's edited, there's a couple things going on. One is, we talked for about 15 minutes when we recorded that, and it got down to about 90 seconds or something. So there's a lot of stuff that just got removed, and a lot of things that you repeated till we got it exactly right. But it really, it just was, it's moving more. The words coming up on the screen help keep people's attention. The different sliding cuts, the fact that we're moving things around is helping people pay attention to what you're saying versus just one take.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure how we're going to make this particular session look better. I have not taken the effort, for instance, to focus on just you or whomever I'm interviewing and then move the camera. So it's a steady camera. It's like you're sitting in an audience at a theater performance,
right,
and you can see everything all the time. But what you do when you're in the theater is you look over here for a while, you look over there for a while, you look at the main actors and actresses, you might look around at some of the people in the audience or something, and this is very static. And what you did was add some dynamism to it by having me go left or right, the words come up and different things. So that was very entertaining to me, to keep me wanting to watch the video.
Yeah, it looks, like this video, we've got two cameras here. I brought in my iPhone, so I'll be cutting this together into something a little more dynamic than the ones you've done in the past. But really what we did with yours, even though you moved around the screen, it's set up to look like they were multiple cameras. It feels like there were multiple cameras to the viewer, but really it's just zooming in and out and moving around. It just it feels a little more like people are used to seeing on TV. Is a cut, something changes a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't think of the term multiple cameras, but you're right, it does have that feel to it, but more the cuts and different things that you would see on TV, because people don't realize that 4 seconds on video on television is a long time for a scene.
Yes.
You can get a point across in a TV commercial in as little as 1 second.
Yep.
It's just amazing how our minds just want constant change to what's going on.
Yep, definitely.
So, okay, great. So that's the teaser that we gave. It's tremendous. The process that Brighton went through was to send me an email. I looked around my room a little bit. I played for a few minutes with the lighting to see how I could get that to work. I used a different camera, and then we did an interview. And the entire call took 20 minutes. But I would say that half of that time was just he and I talking
exactly,
like this
yeah.
because we're both interested in video and have some opinions. So we were just like two friends talking. And then when we got to actually doing the recording, it was like, okay, you're the director of this movie, of
Yep.
this testimonial. And, you know, I would say something. He picked up on something, didn't see something. He'd ask me to repeat it. He'd ask me to change it a little bit. And what was also very possible for me then is like what I'm doing now, talking to the camera. So we have two cameras here, and Brighton and I have been moving back and forth between the two cameras. I think Brighton is focused a little bit more on his iPhone camera. I've focused a little bit more on the camcorder camera. But having that different setup with the camera at my level and not reading a script made it much easier for me to keep my focus on the audience, which is
Right.
just that tiny little green dot on the top of your camera.
Yep, exactly. So that's one of the most important things. If everyone leaves here with one thing, it's look at the camera lens when you're recording, because when you're talking to people, we're really good at seeing when someone's looking off screen or off like over our shoulder or something, like when you're at a party or something. You can tell when someone just glanced over your shoulder. So you have to make sure that when you're working with a camera, you look directly at it.
Yeah, even with the split mirror device that I have for the camera, you can still see the eyes moving from left to right over a screen as small as this.
Yep.
As I'm reading something there.
It's very minor, but people can pick up on it.
Okay. So a key, authenticity. Keep your eyes on the camera and talk from the heart. Right?
Yes, definitely.
All right.
I love it.
Okay. Brighton, how does somebody get a hold of you after this now to engage with you? Possibly?
Sure. Great. Yeah. Well, you can head over to brightonwestvideo.com. I love working with coaches or consultants, people who are in a similar realm to coaches, people whose customers go on that hero's journey. I can do a half-hour free phone call just to kind of talk about the strategy of how video could work for your business and what might be the perfect strategy for getting forward. Sometimes that's with me, sometimes that's not. So there's a number of options out there.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And Brighton, thank you for joining us as a virtual videographer.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Are you looking to use video in your coaching practice, or you have a similar business, maybe consulting? I'm really excited to be Paul Menig's guest on his YouTube show this week. So what we're going to be talking about is using online video, and it's really not that hard. One of the key things we talk about in this episode is about online video testimonials, and it's one that I did with Paul. So Paul actually did a before where he did it himself, and then we did one together. So we've got a couple of options there in terms of, we'll be showing both Paul's, being a great guinea pig here. We'll show what it looks like when he did it himself, what it looks like when he worked with me. So I'm really excited. We've got some other great clips from this episode into the lens of the camera. So we talked about the best camera that you can use for making video. It's the one that's already in your pocket. So we also talked about why people watch video.
We encourage you to watch the entire interview. You can go to Business Accelerants on Vimeo, on YouTube. You can go to my website and get a link there, and you can go to Brighton's website and get a link there.